In a small town where silence was the loudest sound, a young boy named Thalen appeared at the police station barefoot, bruised, and carrying nothing but a name. Elias is still out there. As officers dig into his mysterious past and his cryptic warnings, they uncover a network of missing children, secret codes, and a truth that had been buried beneath decades of fear. What Thalen reveals will test their beliefs, shake their conscience, and ignite a race against time. What's at stake is more than just justice. It's the return of something long forgotten. Before we jump into this incredible story, drop a comment, let us know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe for more. The rain had been falling all night. Not the kind that washes the earth clean, but the kind that drips like sorrow, slow and steady, like the town of Greystone itself. Officer Rena Kale was halfway through her shift when the station doors creaked open. A boy stood there. No umbrella. No jacket. His eyes, too old for someone so small, scanned the room before he stepped in. He was maybe 10, maybe younger, barefoot, a rip in his shirt and dirt streaked across his face like war paint. Rena rushed over. "Are you hurt?" she asked, already wrapping her coat around him. He didn't flinch, didn't cry. He just whispered, "Elias is still out there." The sentence was a scalpel, simple, precise, and chilling. Rena stared, uncertain whether to ask who Elias was or what out there meant. But something about the way he said it froze her breath. The boy wouldn't say his name at first. Only that he'd run for 3 days. That he wasn't the only one. That others were still trapped, and some weren't alive anymore. When Sergeant Drell came out of his office and saw the boy, his coffee cup slipped from his hand. "Thalen," he whispered, like the name had been carved into his nightmares. The room went still. Because Thalen Mayer had been declared missing 4 years ago. Drell yanked open the filing cabinet in the back, scattering old folders onto the floor. "He was 6, he muttered. "Went missing from a foster home. Case went cold. No leads, no ransom, no sightings." Rena turned to Thalen. "Where have you been all this time?" He blinked, hesitant. "Underground. Mostly. They moved us around a lot." "Us?" she echoed. Thalen nodded. "There were 12. Then 9. Then 5. Now maybe just me." A cold wind seemed to sweep through the station. They took his fingerprints. They matched. The system lit up red, the kind of red that says someone is watching. Drell pulled Rena aside. "We need to be careful. If what he's saying is true, this goes beyond anything we're ready for." Rena leaned in. "What do you mean?" Drell hesitated. "Thalen's name wasn't just on our missing persons list. His name was flagged by federal channels. Sealed files. Off the books kind of sealed. Thalen, now wrapped in a blanket, scribbled on a piece of paper. A rough map. Dots. Arrows. Coordinates. "They always moved us after we heard the song," he said, pointing to the marks. "You'll know the place. It smells like copper and rot." He looked up. "Please. You have to find Elias before they erase him too." The next morning, guided by Thalen's map, Rena and Drell drove toward the northern ridge of Greystone, where old farmland gave way to thick, haunted woods. The path narrowed until the patrol car couldn't go further. They walked. Mud soaked their boots. Crows watched from dead branches. At last they saw it, an old barn, slanted like it had been leaning into a secret for decades. The air shifted. The place reeked of metal and mildew. Drell signaled Rena to wait as he approached. The doors groaned open. Inside were remnants of makeshift bedding, tattered clothes, and scribbles carved into the wood, names. Dates. Ages. Rena's breath caught. One name was circled over and over again, Elias. "This was real," she whispered. Then came a sound. A soft hum, almost mechanical. In the corner of the barn, beneath a tarp, they found it. A broken device with a speaker and a strange metal dial. Thalen's song. Drell turned it on. Static, then a voice, warped but recognizable. "Stay silent. Stay small. The harvest begins at dusk." Rena stepped back. "What the hell is this?" Drell's eyes darkened. "It's programming. Indoctrination. They weren't just kidnapped, they were trained." The implications were horrifying. And Elias, he was still inside this maze somewhere. Back at the station, Thalen sat with a child psychologist, but he clammed up the moment she asked about training. It was Rena he trusted. "Elias wouldn't forget me," he said softly. "But they have ways to make you forget yourself." He tapped his head. "The lights. The chair. The spinning room. I almost forgot my name once." Rena asked what they made the children do. Thalen whispered, "Deliver messages. Record people. Follow. Learn routines." Spies, Drell guessed. No, Thalen said. Seeds. They said we were seeds. He pulled a scrap from his pocket. A tiny metal disc. I took this from the chair before I ran. Their tech expert analyzed the disc. It contained encrypted neural data and auditory triggers. Someone was manufacturing programmable children. Rena felt sick. The deeper they dug, the more disturbing the pieces became. Patterns of missing kids across 3 states, all within 15-mile radius of closed military facilities. And Elias? His name showed up not in the system, but in code, Elias experimental linguistic infiltration and assimilation subject. Not a boy. A project. But Thalen refused to believe that. He's still human, he said. He sang to me when I cried. They tried to break that out of him. But Elias remembers me. Rena started noticing strange glitches in the station's computers. Files deleting themselves. Cameras turning off for 5-minute intervals. It wasn't random. We're being watched, she told Drell. Maybe not by them, but by him. Thalen confirmed it. Elias can speak through machines now. They upgraded him. That night, a message flickered across the station's monitors. Thalen is wrong. Elias is not human. Shut it down. Then silence. Drell called in federal support. Hours later, a man in an unmarked suit arrived, credentials flashing too fast to read. The boy needs to be transferred immediately, he said. National security. Rena refused. He's not going anywhere. The man didn't argue, just smiled. Then you'll take responsibility when the town goes dark. He left behind a black case. Inside was a handheld device, a switch, and a single warning. If the signal spreads, flip this. And pray. Rena stared at it. We're not just dealing with trafficking, she murmured. This is a new kind of warfare. But Thalen wasn't scared. He stood in the corner, hands clenched. Elias is reaching out. I know it. He wants to come home. Drell wasn't convinced. Or he's luring us in. Either way, the question was no longer who Elias was, but what. The next night, the power across Greystone flickered. Then it went out. Phones died. Radios turned to static. At precisely midnight, the station's emergency line rang once, then played a lullaby. A melody Thalen hadn't heard since the compound. He's here, the boy whispered. A knock echoed through the station. Not at the front door. At the basement exit, long sealed and forgotten. Rena opened it slowly. A boy stood there, older than Thalen, maybe 14, eyes glowing faintly under the emergency lights. Elias. Thalen ran to him, but Drell held him back. The boy looked at Thalen, then past him. You shouldn't have left, he said. His voice was flat, distant. They said the seeds would scatter. They said I had to bloom. Rena stepped between them. Elias, we can help you. You're still in there, right? The boy blinked, then cried. One tear. Just one. They're coming, he whispered. The others. They activated them. Thalen grabbed his hand. Then let's stop them. Elias nodded, trembling. The switch, he said. Use it on me. Drell hesitated. What happens if we do? Elias smiled. Then I'll be free. And maybe so will the rest. Rena pressed it. And everything, lights, sound, Elias, faded into silence. But in that silence, a new song began. 3 days later, children began appearing at hospitals and police stations across the region. Lost. Dazed. Remembering songs, not names. Thalen helped identify them, drawing maps from memory. Elias had broadcast one final message through abandoned networks, triggering the shutdown of every signal controlling the children. The government never acknowledged the event. The man in the unmarked suit never returned. But Rena knew what happened. She found a note in her locker, handwritten, simple. Thank you for hearing me. Drell transferred out soon after, too haunted by what they'd uncovered. Rena stayed. So did Thalen. He joined her every week at the community center, drawing, talking, waiting. One day, a girl with quiet eyes walked in and handed Thalen a folded paper. On it was a sketch of 2 boys, holding hands, running through trees. He said you'd understand, she murmured. He's safe now, somewhere beyond the noise. Thalen smiled through tears. He pinned the drawing on the center's wall. He never forgot. And Rena, watching it all unfold, knew this was bigger than a case. It was a warning, a signal. And somewhere out there, among lost voices and broken circuits, a boy had become a beacon. Not a weapon. A promise. Months passed. Life in Greystone settled into a quiet rhythm, though the scars beneath the surface never fully faded. The town's power grid was overhauled, Schools implemented anonymous trauma support programs, and whispers about the Silence Network turned into urban legend. Still, Rena never stopped looking. Files began disappearing from her desk, only the ones tied to Elias and the other children. Cameras occasionally glitched when Thalen entered the room. It was as if someone or something was still watching. One night, while reviewing grainy surveillance from the barn, Rena spotted something that hadn't been there before. A figure in the shadows, too tall to be a child, its eyes flickering like old CRT monitors. It stared directly at the camera before vanishing in static. She didn't show Thalen. He deserved peace, even if she didn't have it. Thalen had begun painting. The community center walls bloomed with vibrant murals, sunlight bursting through woods, children dancing around fires, a boy with golden eyes offering light to a dark sky. The others, the rescued ones, were healing in different ways. Some remembered nothing. Others drew symbols, repeating numbers and patterns that made no sense, except to Thalen. "They're still connected," he explained one afternoon, pointing at a series of spirals. "But it's different now. Softer." He had grown taller, steadier. He no longer looked over his shoulder. One day, a package arrived without a sender. Inside, a cassette player, a single tape labeled Song for Thalen. Rena played it alone. The melody was haunting, beautiful, a lullaby that felt like home and goodbye at once. Elias's voice spoke only once. "The seeds are safe. But never let them forget the soil they came from." Spring came early that year. The woods bloomed brighter than usual, like even nature wanted to begin again. The barn was raised and replaced with a garden named Elias Grove, where children now played under the wide sky without fear. Rena walked there often, always looking, always listening. One afternoon, she found Thalen sitting beneath the largest tree, sketching. "Do you think we'll ever hear from him again?" she asked. Thalen smiled without looking up. "He's everywhere now. Not in the wires, but in us." His drawing showed a vast network of stars, each one glowing softly, linked by invisible threads. As the wind moved through the leaves, Rena thought she heard something, just a whisper, maybe the song, or maybe memory. Either way, it brought peace. The camera panned out, the sky wide, the future unwritten. If this story moved you, if it made you pause, question, or feel something deeper, don't let it end here. Stories like Thalen's and Elias's remind us that there's always more beneath the surface, that silence can speak louder than words, and that healing sometimes begins in the most unexpected places. What would you have done if a boy walked into your world carrying a truth too heavy for his years? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might just be the next echo in this growing community. Like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that stay with you long after the screen fades to black.